Well, good morning, everyone. Well, it's spring, and we're going to do these beautiful spring flowers today. We're going to start off with the drawing. Usually I go very, very light. You can see those very light circles I make placing the flowers, and then once you get that done, very light, you can go in and do a little darker here, which I'm going to show you one by. You got to do each flower, you know. Just take your time, pressing a little harder to really define the shapes which you're trying to do here. You can see that lily. That's the lily on the right side of the photo. Okay, we'll move to that. There's a rose kind of in the background here behind that lily, and I just want to show you how loose you can be. You can go in several times. You don't have to go in and really do a detailed drawing of each flower, but you can get each time you go into it, you can get a little bit more definition. And remember, you're gonna, when you paint this, you're really drawing it again with the brush. So I'm taking you through each step of these different flowers, so you watch as much as you want of it, and then you can move on to the painting. But I'm just trying to show you, how simple it is and how loose you can be, and still hold on to the shape that you're going to paint. That flower is sort of hidden behind those little beads of something. I don't know what they are, but I'm not even going to put them in my painting. But if you want to, you can. So that's the hidden lily in the back there. And then there's a mess of flowers here. Petals. I don't even know what the flower is. I'm not good with identification of flowers, but and then there's another lily in the background here, which I like. It's kind of in profile, it's in silhouette, but you just want to get it in behind all these petals of flowers. So we're back to the full sheet now. There's all of the flowers we laid out. I'm just showing you a few. Putting in a few leaves just above the vase. And then there's the star of the show, that beautiful rose. Beautiful warm rose right in the middle there. Again, you don't need a lot of detail here. We're just trying to get the basic shape of the flower. Okay. All right, we're going to start painting now. So a lot of people ask, do you paint the background first or the flowers first, or how? You can do it any way you want. In this particular painting, I'm going to show you how I do it with the background first. I do it a lot. So what I'm doing here is basically just taking water. I put a little bit of color in it so you can see what you're doing, and you just paint around. You have some incline on your paper, so it's running down. And once you cover it all, and you wet it all, and you wet your path, Then you could go back in, which I'm doing right now, and dropping in a much deeper color. I'm putting in the rose because what I'm going to do is go for a violet background because the flowers are so yellow. I thought it would be nice to have a violet background and get a little vibration. If you get some runs like I did there, don't worry about it. You know, you can just go back with a towel and pat them dry. Don't rub them, because if you rub them, you're going to rub them into the paper. Just pat them lightly with your paper towel, and most of them will disappear. That's actually pencil, that line right there. I rubbed some pencil in there by accident, but it's all good. Don't worry about it. So now you can go in with a smaller brush and define those small tight edges. All right, now while that rose is still wet, I'm going to drop some ultramarine blue on it to get my violet. Okay, just drop it on, let it run down, and don't try to cover every single speck of the rose. Let them work together, let the colors mix, and you'll see the excitement that you get by allowing the paint to be a partner here and paint this with you. Just let it run. Don't try to do every spot, like I say. Just enjoy it. I'm painting right over the vase. I'm not worried about that vase. I'm just gonna keep it very simple. But what I want is to just get these layers of wash one over the other here. Okay? All right, so now go back in with your towel, pat those runs, pick up any drips. And you can see there's the outline of your flowers with some, you know, I'm going to lift out a little bit of light on that vase just to show that there's a couple of different planes to it, and we'll get back to that later. All right, I'm going to go in with, this is cadmium yellow with a touch of red in there, cadmium red, so it's a very warm color. So in the center of that rose, it's very warm, and then just rinse out your brush and take some water and paint the outer edges of that flower. Notice in flowers, they always have, the outer edges of flowers are always lighter because it's thinner. You know, the petals are thinner out there and the light is going through it. All right, so don't try to get in too much detail right now. We're just getting the shape of the flower in there. You're getting that nice warm center on the rose, and then you take a towel and lift out any petals that are showing. You know, the petals come out and they kind of give a turn, and so you get some nice light underneath. But don't get too detailed. Just try to keep it nice and loose and juicy, and we're going to go back to all these flowers and do the details, but we just want to get the color and the shape in, the basic shape. We'll go in once the colors and shapes are established. We will then go in with our greens, our dark greens, and really do a lot of negative painting and really try to define those, define each one of those flowers, the outer edges of the flowers, the outline of the flowers. And then once that's done, you'll see we'll go in and really do some more detail on each flower. Okay, so that's a little bit of the flower underneath. The underside of the flowers so they're in shade, so they're very warm. This flower has a lot of violet in it. It's a white flower, but the shadow is very cool. So then you have the center of it, which is more, it's more of a yellow, greenish yellow. So I dropped some yellow with a touch of cobalt blue teal in there, just to get the center. So you can see the shapes are developing here. That's that mess of petals there. I just put color over the whole thing, then I'm going in with a towel and lifting out some of the petals. There's the outside, another lily on the outside. Keep a towel in your hand so you can lift out. All right, we're going to go in now with the green, and the green here is ultramarine with a touch of cad yellow. And I apologize, the direction of the camera here is blocking the brush, the tip of the brush on a lot of these shots, so you can't see the painting, but it's hard to see the details, but we'll do the best we can. All right, so you can see I'm going in ultramarine with, I used cadmium yellow. You can use you can use a lot of different yellows. Another beautiful color is the gold. If you use quinacridone gold with your blue, ultramarine blue, you'll get some beautiful greens. All right, so I'm just defining these flowers. Now notice, I'm just making it up, And I also should mention, these, in the photo of the flowers, you get that beautiful black background. We're not going to try to get that, obviously, in watercolor. It just doesn't, I don't think it works well. You end up very opaque, So, but we are using these greens to really define our flowers and create our shapes with a lot of negative painting, and it's wonderful. It gives you a chance to really develop your brush work and really work it. It's great. So we're just gonna buzz through this. The greens, got some leaves underneath. So you just, I'm not really looking at the photo there when I'm doing this. You're going to use your imagination to develop those greens in a negative shape so that it really defines the flowers. And I'm really just taking some water here and washing the greens down onto the vase in a vertical, with a vertical line, just leaving the edge, a little bit of light on the edge. Keeping it very simple. And I'll put some stems to the flowers later on. Putting a little rose onto that green to make it more of that gray color. Notice the left side of the vase is in shade. So, all right, I mixed up a darker green, same color, ultramarine, with just a little touch of yellow and maybe a little touch of rose in that green. And you can see I'm really going in and defining the edges of these flowers now, and it really helps, use a pointed brush and really go in, on some of the turns of the petals. They go in very, very narrow and light, and keep that, that space between the petals. Really helps to define those flowers. Again, I apologize for blocking out the brushwork. If you're wondering, that's a piece of paper towel I taped to my finger. I scraped it, and it was bleeding all over the... All right. Okay, you can see it's a much darker green. It's very dark underneath those flowers towards the vase. Just going right through all the green and touching where, there'd be more shadow. right, I'm going in here with cad yellow and a touch of cad red mixed to make this deep orangey color, and doing a little more brush work on the rose itself. I'm placing the dark colors, and then what I'm going to do is rinse out my brush. You can see I'm really loosening it up. So I rinsed out my brush and picked up some it's really just water, you know, it's a little bit of color to it, but it's really just water, and I'm just loosening up all that heavy color that I put in there. Again, much lighter on the edges of the flowers. Same thing in the back. So I'm just going through now. See, now you go back to each flower and do a little more detail, but not too much. And remember that, you know, there's always the star of the show, and the star of this one is that beautiful rose in the center. This lily on the right is beautiful as well. But you don't want you want the viewer to look in one particular area when you're doing this. So keep that in mind as you're developing these flowers. Some of them are going to be a lot looser than the others, okay? Going back to these petal flowers, not sure what they are. But again, put another layer on and pat out the petals. Bringing the dark down on one side of the vase. Notice I'm just keeping that very simple. I don't want a lot of attention down there, and bringing the greens down as you know, as stems to the flowers, keeping it very simple. I'm going to put a little shadow in here on the wall behind this. So what I'm doing is I just basically define the shadow with rose, and now I'm dropping some ultramarine into that shadow to get it. Notice I'm dropping it. I'm not trying to paint everything. I'm letting the colors mix themselves. But that shadow will help this whole, you know, this whole shape of flowers and vase and everything to sit down. And I'm adding a little bit on the right side. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. This is wonderful. It's springtime. Good to start painting a lot of flowers. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again very soon. Jump into spring.